Guns up, Poke fans. It's time for PokeCast. Broadcasting live at Mr. Bill's Seafood Express, located at 500 East McNeese Street in Lake Charles. Now, here's your host, Jim Gazzolo.
Hey, another Wednesday night for Mr. Bill's across campus at McNeese State University and on 92.9 The Lake FM. It's the PokeCast. With Justin Hill will be our first guest tonight, baseball coach. We decided to take him out on the coldest day of the year this morning, so we bring out and talk baseball. Of course, a couple of things to talk about. Men's basketball at Incarnate Word on Saturday, then to two-time defending champion Corpus Christi on Monday night. That game will be seen live on ESPNU, linear television, not ESPN Plus. Just to make sure you know that. This week they beat conference favorite Southeast Louisiana on Saturday, and then came back and beat Lamar in a pretty exciting game Monday night. 3,400 fans showed up. Those that could get across the river and the bridge got here, so pretty good crowd for all things considered. And Monday also, first time in the school's history, they got a vote in the men's AP poll. One vote. I believe it was the writer from Connecticut who voted them for their mostly off their victory. He said from Michigan, so there's that going on. McNeese women will be at Corpus Christi tomorrow night, and then we'll play the doubleheader first game on Saturday at 2 p.m., and that will be on ESPN Plus from Incarnate Word. So our first guest tonight, Justin Hill. We brought you out on a cold night. Coach, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I appreciate you having me today.
Not really baseball weather.
No, this is basketball weather. I've always said this. This is the one you need to be inside, 72. It's great. So,
unfortunately, where I grew up, it was baseball weather far too often.
Yeah.
I played in 30-degree weather. I played in snow. But this year, very interesting year for you guys, because the last couple of years, it seemed like you had a lot of pieces in place and a lot of known factors. This year, there seems to be a few more unknowns. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, even though we've probably got, more than half our roster coming back from this year, from last year's team, and we added some pieces in a similar manner, they're just unproven. I think that's where we're at. So we got a lot of guys here, whether they were injured last year and are just maybe part-time players. They're looking to take a bigger role this year. They've been a great group. They've been fun. They look good. What little bit of time I've had to see them since we come back.
I believe you have 23 returnees. 17 newcomers, but mainly the fact is you've got a lot of guys that you said you don't know yet, but you had a lot of guys left that had really good careers and extended careers here.
Yeah, the combination of guys like Grant Rogers, Brad Burkell, Josh Leslie, you lost Bryson Hudgens and Andrew Gonzalez. Peyton Harden. You keep the list kind of keeps going on. You don't really replace those guys. With single players, you hope that it comes from within and recruiting. But no, I like the group that we've got this year. They're a fun group to be around. They work their tail off. It's like I said, we're just a little unproven right now, but that's why they play the game.
One of the you lost almost your record book.
Well,
Peyton Harden leaves, and you lose half your record book, don't you?
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good group, that's for sure.
Now, did you follow those guys this summer? Because a lot of them went on to play pro ball, different kind of pro ball now. Obviously, Grant Rogers got drafted, but the other guys kind of went into that baseball draft thing or whatever it is, where the major leagues kind of take over the minor leagues for some kids. How'd that go? Did you talk to them about it?
We stayed in touch with them a little bit. So that was the draft league up in the Northeast. Hope from that one more chance for a guy to be able to maybe get a chance. And a couple of guys had a little bit of a taste independent, but nothing really happened, from an affiliated standpoint. But, eventually the game tells us to stop playing at some point. So I don't know if they're all there yet, but it happens to us.
Is that a one-year league, or can you get called back?
I think you can get called back. The idea of that is kind of that it's a 2-year league at most. Whether it be a junior, you're anticipating going there, or certainly for seniors that have exhausted their eligibility.
Okay, and before we get into your team, I wanted to ask you about the Gumbo Gators.
Yeah.
Who will be playing on your field.
Yeah.
You're not really associated with them, but they are using your facilities in that. What does that do for you? Does it kind of give you some exposure, your place, kind of see other people see it?
Well, I think a lot of people get a chance to see it. Everybody in the TCL, I mean, and it has a chance to be a good recruiting opportunity for us. Because of the rules, we're limited in what we can, how much we can do. We can send 4 players to there, but like the fact of them being right there, I think it's going to be a big deal. Plus, teams coming in, so they'll get a chance to see our facilities, and so it's just. The fact that they wanted to use this tells us, lets you know that we have a good facility.
And in a strange way, though, it is an opportunity for you to have exposure for your program for kids that may end up in the portal.
Yeah, I mean, the portal is just it's the thing right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and good or bad, I mean, we've tried to, it's been better to us than it's been bad to us. And so, I mean, we're going to certainly have opportunities to be able to see some players in there and try to hang on to as many as we can.
Justin Hill is our first guest. You have a question for Coach? Step up to the microphone. My first question to you is this. College baseball's changed completely in the last 10 years, but especially the last 3 or 4 since almost COVID. All these kids got older, got extra years in that. Now that we're seeing the end of those kids kind of leaving, is this now a completely different group of teams you're going to see because it got younger that quick?
I don't know if it necessarily got younger immediately because of the portal. The average size of the roster, the roster size went up to 40. It's going to be permanent from that standpoint, up from 35. Between that and just the ability for players to their player mobility to be able to move around, I think you're going to see a little bit older kids. I mean, they're still going to sign some of the Power Fives are still going to sign some of the top tier freshmen that are high school kids that are coming out, but they're still going to find a way to find the best players, and a lot of times they're a little bit older.
You haven't lost too many kids in the portal over the years, though, have you?
Last year we lost 2. I mean, they were pretty big, but it's been better to us than it's been bad to us right now. So we hope to keep that trend going.
Obviously, Hudgens is the big one.
Yeah.
Because you have to replace the innings of Grant Rogers. I mean, it's impossible to replace the 2-time pitcher of the year in your league, isn't it?
Well, I mean, he replaced the guy that was the pitcher of the year before with Will Dion, and nobody knew who Grant Rogers was, and so I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, but it just the standards there, and so who's going to do that? We've got guys that are coming back. We just don't necessarily know what their roles are yet. How to basically put those pieces together. I like the pieces. I just don't know exactly what the puzzle looks like yet.
And Will Dion was, I believe, one of 3 guys named in the Cleveland Indians organization as their minor league pitcher of a year. So he's obviously going up. He could even get up next year.
He has a chance to do that, but if he does that, he's going to mess the mural up that we just finished. So he's going to owe me $1,000 for that if he does that. But I'm sure he can afford that if that happens.
You can't stick an Indian tat on him or something.
Well, they don't say that anymore. They're the Guardians. So.
Yeah. I
didn't know it was that kind of show. So.
It is that kind. It's every week I get it from somebody now every week. It's open field. Okay, Diamond Dinner on the 26th. Tell us a little bit about that.
The Diamond Dinner is our biggest fundraiser for both baseball and softball. And, championship programs need championship resources. And, with their table sales, we're going to have individual ticket sales going on next week. It's just the biggest fundraiser. We try to have a good time. It's coaches trying to do right by their kids and their and things. We've got a lot of things that kids expect nowadays. From nutrition centers and all the gear and everything. It's a good time. So thediamonddinner.com, or if you go on the foundation website, the link to be able to get in there. The tables are for sale. Like I said, we're going to put some stuff out this week about individual tickets. There's a opportunity to be able to support the programs one way or the other. Like I said, it's a big deal. It's been a big, a great relationship between baseball and softball for this 10 years now.
It's also the first official day of practice, right?
Yeah, the timing wasn't exactly that great, but you got to do what you got to do, man. We got to go raise the money. We got to do those things, but we'll find a way to make it work.
Now, when you start practice, it's always interesting to me because the kids have been practicing, obviously, especially pitchers. It's not like some people think, well, it's the first day of practice, it's the first day they picked up a baseball. They've really been working on getting their arm strength up already, right? Yeah,
we're hoping so. I mean, we've been able to work out a little bit, but I mean, from that opening day, you got 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks till opening day, and everybody in the country is the same. Hopefully we'll change those rules here soon. Yeah. But that's just the hand we're dealt right now.
Well, you compare that to Major League Baseball, which has a 6-week spring training, but also a 7.5-week spring training when you extend it to pitchers and catchers reporting. So they're getting 7 weeks to ramp up. High college kids are getting 3.
Yeah, I mean, we send them home with a training plan, and hope they follow it to the best they can. But just as we found out this past week, weather happens, and you got to find a way to adapt and adjust and do what you need to do. We'll have some live at bats and do all the things. So we actually talked about that today. If we don't get the first and third stuff, we'll be really good at throwing the ball to second or really good at arm faking. So one of the two. So.
And then the next day, the 27th, you have the alumni game. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the alumni game. They really come out and take batting practice, and they can come play if they want to. If they feel like they can still make it 60 feet 6 inches, or really want to face our guys coming in there, or we'll fill it in. But it's such a great opportunity for people to come back. I mean, it's more fun with the turf too. Kids, the parents and dad will bring kids out on the field, and they get to just hang out, and it's grown. We put some pictures out. It's such a great. I mean, we'll have 30, 40 guys come out. And we even have some pro guys come out. Like last year, Grant Anderson came out. Kane Eckert. I mean, so it's a really neat thing to be able to see the group that comes in here, and so we'll play, but we'll be done in time. That game's at 1:00. We'll be done in time for the men's basketball game at 4:00. We've already paid attention on that. So,
what was it like last year to have a couple of players from the program deep in the playoffs and into the World Series?
I mean, it's a blessing. I mean, it goes to show you that you can get anywhere you want to from here in Lake Charles and here in a good program. But it's just those guys did it, and just the fact to be mentioned, along the efforts that they had and the achievements they had, it's pretty humbling.
It seems like just a couple of years ago, Anderson was throwing for you.
Yeah, he didn't have the greatest freshman year, and made some adjustments to it. And he's such a good person. He's a great dad, become a great husband, and everything that he does. And I'm so happy for him and his family and what they've been able to do, and his mom and his dad, and just to see everything that they, everything that they've been able to get to do.
The fact that you've had 2 pitchers the last couple of years get drafted, the fact that you have kids going deep into these things now and that, and really getting McNeese some attention on the baseball level. How much has that changed your recruiting? Because kids have always told me they come here because they think they can have a chance.
I think that's all. That's what we all want, isn't it? Just a chance, to be able to prove yourself, and having an opportunity to be able to be successful in everything. And so we try to provide that. The number one thing that I feel like I'm responsible for is the environment. And if we can create an environment where that they know, they believe that they're going to have an opportunity to go do it and grow. Hopefully with good coaching, and then the resources that we need to do. Yeah, I mean, it's kids talk. That's why the portal hasn't been so bad for us.
One of the things with you is, now how many years have you been here?
This is year 11.
Year 11.
Yes.
Now I remember talking to you, I think after year 2.
Okay.
And I remember doing things on what you wanted to do with the program, how you wanted to build it, how you wanted the facilities to look in that. But you've had to build that twice now with the Hurricanes. How hard was it to build it the second time, and what did you learn from the first time as far as the process goes?
Well, the process stinks sometimes, if we're being real. So, but that's okay. But here's what I've learned more than anything is buildings are easy to build compared to because people are what matter. The people that you have as a part of your program, the people you work with day in, day out, the people that you're associated with build you up. Like, that's really what it is. Buildings, that's just a place to gather. It's a place to improve and things like that. That may get you a recruit here or there, but it's not going to build a player. It's not going to build a man. Facilities are great. Facilities are fun. And they're nice and shiny and all those kind of things. But it's really about the people. In doing those things. So we can build different things and do all those kind of things, but it really comes back down to the people.
And did you just rip up the first program, the first plan? Did you have to just rip it up and start over, or did you keep little bits and pieces of it?
I would just say it's a fluid situation. Is probably the best way to say it. So yeah.
But you are back in your own building now.
Yeah, we're back in our building. It's nice to have the offices, not just from having an office, place to stay. What part of the big deal is the kids know where we are, and we're in the same building as they are, and so it makes it a little bit easier for the connection. You don't have to be. It's a little more organic than it is to be forced with some things. You had to set up a meeting to be able to meet with a player. It was a little bit transactional with the players. I saw them on the field. I didn't get to see them kind of in between or eating lunch or doing things like that. So it's just like it's been a lot more organic now, and the vibe is pretty good over in the building.
So what's the next phase going on? I know that there's the new facility is going to be at the fire station, and that's been torn down now. How much are you looking forward to that? Because last year you got the press box, you're getting things in pieces.
Right now, I mean, the focus at this time of the year, we're just, I mean, the main focus is on this team, you know, and there'll be times to be able to have a meeting with the construction group and, you know, with our administration on whatever's next with that. But I mean, really the focus is on making sure that we've got everything ready for this team right now.
When we come back with Justin Hill, we're going to talk about this year's team, specifically about college baseball, and also we'll get into some analytics, because I know you're a big analytics guy. After this on PokeCast.
Mr. Bill's Seafood Express, located at 500 East McNeese Street in Lake Charles, is locally owned and operated. Don't forget to check out Mr. Bill's Seafood Express daily lunch specials Monday through Friday. Mr. Bill's Seafood Express also has live music every Thursday and Saturday night. Chad Poussaint and Jason Guillory, the owners of Mr. Bill's Seafood Express, proudly support the McNeese Cowboys. Mr. Bill's Seafood Express, 500 East McNeese Street in Lake Charles, says, "Go Pokes!"
The McNeese PokeCast is also brought to you by Keelan Construction. Keelan Construction is South Louisiana's leading vertical and horizontal general contractor. Keelan courageously pursues complex challenges to advance further the life and culture of our staff and the communities we serve. And also brought to you by Southwest Beverage. Rooted in the community of Southwest Louisiana since 1954, Southwest Beverage has been a family-owned and operated business for 3 generations. Bud Light and Southwest Beverage has been a loyal supporters of McNeese State University for over 30 years by providing athletic scholarships as well as scholarships for students. We pride ourselves on being the premier beverage supplier in Southwest Louisiana and will continue to be here for many years to come. Thank you for your support of our brands and McNeese Athletics, and as always, go Pokes.
We're back on 92.9 The Lake at Mr. Bill's across campus from McNeese State University. Once again, we got Justin Hill as our guest. We want to thank Matt for this. This is brought to you by the McNeese Athletic Foundation. And Coach, college baseball changes every year. Last year you put in a pitch clock. This year fans will be able to see the pitch clock, right?
Right.
How has that changed the game, and has it really changed much of what you do?
Well, I like it. I mean, I think it's really good for the game. I think it's a little more, it's a little more pleasant to consume as a fan. And I think it goes back. I don't think it's anything new. I think it's more of a throwback to how it kind of started. And look, people were trying to do everything they could to get an advantage. And I think we're just going to find a new way to do it. It's just going to take us about 30 minutes less to finish the game.
We ever get to the day where, like college basketball, we get a horn go off when the clock goes off?
No. You just have an umpire he'll come out and, point and do something, and we'll figure out what all those are.
But I just always thought that's what people always ask me is there going to be a horn going off?
Man, I hope not.
No, there's not going to be.
I hope not.
But it is kind of a change in how kids are brought up. It's almost better now, the fact that they learn at a younger age.
Yeah, I mean it's meant to have a little tempo, a little pace to it. It's not rushed, but anything. But I mean there's a certain amount of time you're supposed to have in between, and so it's been good. It's been good for the game.
Are you for? Because there's a lot of you guys do the arm system,
right?
Are you for the direct, like the Major League has, into the ear?
We can actually do that now. We can actually use the same PitchCom system that Major League Baseball does. We have a couple of different systems that we can use. It's good. I mean, it really is. It makes it a little bit simpler. You're not worried about who gets the signals, and in a short amount of time, you get a chance to work with these kids. I mean, you don't have to worry about going over signals. You get to just go through. You get to if you can read the wristband, you can do that.
Yeah, but do you ever see it going to where the fielders get it?
They actually do. Our guys do actually have them right now. So I think they're limited to 2 guys in professional baseball.
Yeah.
We're unlimited in how many we can have.
So everybody can have one?
Well, as many as we can afford. So that's just how it works.
It's such an interesting thing because to me it simplifies it speeds up the game. It simplifies it. But it does take away a little bit of the mistakes.
It also takes away some of the, hey, is this group doing this? Is somebody using the camera in the wrong way? And so it takes a little bit of that part out of it.
But you guys do almost everything analytically, right? I mean, you guys are as ahead of the game as there is analytically as far as college baseball on this level.
Well, we certainly try to be. I mean, we were the first team to put TrackMan in our conference, and I think a couple have kind of followed with that. So we try to do that. I mean, anything to get an edge. I mean, if it's worth one win, it's worth it.
Who's going to take over the role of scoop this year?
Oh, we've got Jack Gates. So Jack Gates was a former catcher for us, and he's wanting to get in, and he's going to be heading up the analytics and player development. He came in at the back end of the semester, just wanted to get in, wanted to find a way to get in, and because that's where the game is. It's not where it's going, it's where it is, and he's been a big asset to us just to get started.
Do the kids coming in now? Do they accept it, embrace that?
Yeah, I think they do. They're looking for it. I don't think they know what they're looking for, but they certainly want it. I think there's a level of expectation you have with that in some way, shape, or form. But again, it always goes back to the ability to communicate that to the player.
All right, let's talk about your team in general now. You do have a lot of holes to fill with a lot of guys, but there's a lot of guys that got some experience last year. Where do you see this team, and who are some of the guys you think are going to have breakout years?
Well, I think it starts with, I think we're probably a little bit more mature from a position player standpoint, with Brayley Hollins coming back, Cooper Hext, Braden Duhan. Those are some guys that, that were kind of used to being in the lineup when they were all healthy. Pitching-wise, to be a little different. We know Ty Abraham, he had a great year, just kind of a hybrid role for us. Don't know exactly what role he's going to have. But then Cameron Lejeune and Zach Voss, a couple of pitchers that we, had mixed results. And when they pitched last year, trying to keep them healthy. But they've both been great. They haven't missed a turn coming up from a ball standpoint. So I don't know exactly what team we're going to have. I don't think we're going to run as well as we did in the past. But we're going to still try to run a little bit.
It seemed like you got some good pitching when you played LSU. That was a big game for you guys. What was it like to play in front of that crowd, to have that kind of an atmosphere, and what does it mean for your kids? Because that's a great opportunity they're not going to get.
Yeah, no, that was a fun. I mean, November the 5th on a Sunday, great weather. Had the defending national champions come to the park, and it was packed. I mean, it sell out in every way, shape, or form. So there's no telling how many people. If we'd have had more bleachers, I think we'd have had even more people come.
Yeah.
And doing that. So I was really proud of how well our guys played. I thought we played within ourselves. You got to see some things. Nothing our guys did surprised us. It's still hard to hit 100 miles an hour when it's coming out of a pitcher's hand, so we don't really see that a whole lot. But I thought our guys competed really, really well with them.
I thought the big thing was they weren't overwhelmed by the moment.
No,
they didn't seem like it was too big for them.
Yeah, and I think we got a great start out of Zach Voss and a couple of guys, and that was kind of on purpose. We've had some guys that have been in the moment, whether they pitched in big conference games, or critical moments. They've done that, and so I was really. But I mean, how can you prepare for that, in November? So, but I thought he handled the moment really, really well.
Yeah, especially November. You haven't had the full wrap up. You haven't been really. It's kind of a strange time to play, but. Like I said, is that they didn't overwhelm you in any way. No.
I thought our guys did really handle themselves pretty well.
And when you get into looking to fill out a roster, especially pitching staff, Ty Abraham obviously is the big name, but you used him in so many different ways this year. Do you set him up one way if he's going to be a starter, a different way, and how do you do that when it's a hybrid type of guy?
Well, the best part about him is we can use him in a certain way that depends on what other guys can do. I think there are some guys that are probably only be really good starters, and some guys may can go be good bullpen guys. So when we have opening weekend, unless something happens over the next 3 weeks we haven't seen, it's probably going to be a little bit of a mixed bag because I don't really see anybody going more than 4 innings and going over 70 pitches and those kind of things in that first weekend. So we'll see a lot of guys, and we're going to see a pretty good team against us too.
Okay, here's a question I got for you that always intrigued me about you guys. The last couple of years, I've never seen a college team with so many left-handed hitters, but yet so few left-handed pitchers.
No, I mean I don't know what that. Really, why that happened? We've looked for the left-handed pitchers. We certainly have. It just hasn't worked out. I'll tell you.
But you get all these left-handed hitters. It's like it was amazing.
Yeah, no, it's kind of sometimes it just works out that way. It's not necessarily the plan. You go for the best player, happens to be left-handed, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But the left-handed pitchers are getting gobbled up by the schools with the extra 5 roster spots now. So that has something to do with it.
But you guys. I remember last year you said you asked me a couple of times, you said a couple of times, you were trying to find right-handed hitters.
Right.
To fill out a roster and kind of even out a roster and a lineup. That's almost unheard of in college.
Yeah, we've got a few more this year, and so it is interesting. In our ballpark, it blows out typically to left field, so you want some guys that can pull the ball in the air for sure.
Anybody that's going to play as many years as Auberjonois this year?
No. Well, I mean,
nobody coming up in 7 years?
No, I don't think so. No, and I don't think anybody ever break the games played record that Peyton Harden did. Just those extra 17 games they got in COVID year. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to even touch those.
So the league in general, did the league? It looked to me like the league got better last year. Do you see more of an investment, or is that kind of because you're competing against in college baseball with the 5 extra rosters on the higher levels, you're now getting left. Obviously, they're gobbling up 5 more people. Is it harder to get guys now, or are you finding that there are more, obviously, freshmen coming up that are getting chances?
I think no matter what you do, there's always going to be a problem. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a challenge, but I think we all have very similar types of challenges where we're at. It's just, how do you make it work? But to go to your point of the league being, it's really good. We've got some really good coaches, and a lot of coaches that have kind of been tenured. They've been here a while, so they know what to expect. They know, I don't remember who I think we just had obviously Bobby move over from Northwestern to Southeastern. So I mean, there's a lot of familiarity within the league. So I think that probably leads itself to parity in a lot of ways. But yes, extremely competitive, especially with a really small conference schedule of only 24 games.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to your schedule a little bit. You open up at Texas A&M, so you don't start easy.
No, I think
why start there?
Well, I mean, scheduling is getting challenging. I mean, you want to play a certain amount of home games. Obviously we've had a pretty good record here, but you don't want to have to travel too far for a road game. You got to make sure you can go somewhere that your fans can travel, and you can make it pretty simple. But we were looking for an opening weekend. They were, and Coach Slosh called, and that was how it kind of worked out.
But you also bring Northwestern down here.
Yeah.
You have some Power Fives coming here. Yep. You play LSU.
Yep.
It's a pretty good schedule.
It's a really challenging schedule. It's a really challenging schedule with a very unproven team. So, the goal is to that first part of the schedule pre-conference to start to figure out who our identity is. If we can figure out who our identity and figure out roles from the pitching staff and some other things, I mean, that's really what come out of there with identifying that and come out healthy.
2 years ago, the league was kind of forced into this creative championship series where you had 2 separate kind of regionals or sub-regionals or whatever you want to call it that led to a championship round of 2 out of 3. And it was, I thought, very entertaining. Last year you went back to the traditional. This year you're going to that again, right?
Right.
What do you like about that? What do you dislike about it? And do you think in the end it kind of helps the mid-majors somewhat that you can set up your rotation more for a regional?
Yeah, I would say that they're just 2 totally different types of tournaments. I mean, how you prepare for them, how you attack them is completely different. So I don't know if there's one to like more than the other. I mean, I think once we get to the 2 brackets, I mean, the fact that we can earn the right to be able to host here, and get an advantage there, I think that's part of what you want to do. But yeah, I mean, they're 2 totally different things. We just got to go to Hammond and beat those guys over there.
Yeah, you finish first or second. You have the opportunity to host twice.
That's right. That's next year.
So you get the double host. Is that? I mean, that's obviously a big advantage. But do you like that kind as far as it sets up with? Because my only concern was always when you have to play 7 games to get out of a conference tournament. That's okay for an SEC school or something that has the arms. For this level, you don't have quite as many arms to go as deep. A lot of times you go into the first game of the regional, which is going to be against a 1 seed or usually a 1 seed. And you're not going with a full arsenal.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good that comes with that format. I mean, if you want to look at what the biggest negative of that one is the fact that you basically have 1 less week to play games. That's the worst part of it. And you want to play as many games as you can to go do those things, and try without overdoing it for your kids. But that's the worst part of it. But there's a whole lot of good that it comes with that bracket.
Where do you think this program is now?
Man, every team's its own team. I mean, I get it from a fan and media. I think there's a level of expectation of where everybody's at, but I mean, we got a bunch of guys that haven't done it yet, and so I don't know exactly where we are. I mean, and I say that it's kind of been hyper focused on our club and what we need to do right now, and so I just know we got the Aggies, open up on February the 16th.
You are now securely the all-time winningest coach in McNeese history. So where do you see, did you ever expect that when you first got here? And where do you see this program possibly in the next few years?
I didn't really think about it. I think we won 31 games our first year. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? Like winning a college baseball game is a really hard thing to do, especially with the schedule and the people we play. And we talked about our conference, and but where can we go? I think we can go. I mean, it's hard to put limits on a group. When you believe in a group, and because this is a baseball town. People recognize us.
Not a basketball town?
No, I mean, look, hey, it can be both. I mean, look, we play at different seasons. So, like I told you, just basketball weather right now. Nobody was going to come out in February, that first part, But, once it gets hot, I mean, that's, we got to have something to do after those guys cut the nets down in March. So.
And when you look at it now, the field you got, the facilities you got, kind of the reputation you've gotten over the last few years, are you seeing more and more teams wanting to come down here to play?
No, they don't want to play anymore. That's why we're going on the road opening weekend. That's just how it works right now.
You've become too good?
I don't know if we'd say that, but I mean, it's not it's just a different challenge right now.
Justin Hill's been our guest for the first two segments here on the PokeCast. Don't forget, Diamond Dinner is the 26th of January, and on the 27th, it's the alumni game after the first day of practice. So if you want to take a look at some of the old-timer guys that are coming out to play in McNeese, you can take there. Are you going to get anybody from a World Series out there that day?
Yeah, we'll do our best. So we'll see if we can get
one of those two guys
Jace,
there?
Yeah, so we'll see if we can do that. Yeah, that's for sure. One of the things we are doing, and we haven't announced it publicly yet, but Jace Peterson will be getting his number retired. And so we're excited to be able to do that. And so
sometime during the year? Or?
Yeah, well, I don't know. He was going to try to do it at the alumni game at the basketball. He's going to be out of town at that weekend, but it'll be up on the wall, and we'll be releasing something publicly here pretty soon.
There you go. Breaking news right there from the PokeCast.
So
we'll be back after this.
The McNeese PokeCast is also brought to you by Southwest Louisiana Credit Union. Southwest Louisiana Credit Union now offers an account just for McNeese students. It's the Blue and Gold checking account. All it takes is $5 to get you in. You get a free debit card, online and mobile banking, and access to a smart ATMs. There's no service charge. You can even get free financial counseling. That's why Southwest Louisiana Credit Union is now the official credit union for McNeese students and McNeese athletics. Find out more at swlacu.com. To open a blue and gold checking account, go by Southwest Louisiana Credit Union at 4056 Ryan Street, about a block away from campus. Membership is required. As the oldest athletic booster organization at McNeese, the McNeese Cowboy Club is proud to continue providing support to all McNeese athletes for 49 years. We meet every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. in the Cowboy Club room located over the south end zone with talks from coaches and other leaders in McNeese athletics. Come join us and discover what being a McNeese athletic booster is all about. And go Pokes.
We're back with the PokeCast on 92.9 FM and from Mr. Bill's across campus from McNeese State University. Don't forget this weekend, if you're watching basketball, McNeese State plays at 5 on Saturday on ESPN Plus against Incarnate Word. And on Monday night, they take on two-time defending Southland Conference champion Corpus Christi on the road, the longest road trip of the year. That will be on ESPNU, not on ESPN Plus. It'll be on actual linear television. They've beaten the first two teams they've beaten recently are the two teams that were expected to compete for the title already. This would be a third It will also end their portion of the road as far as starting with 4 games of the road on their first 6. They're the only team to have done that in the conference. So we'll see how they pan out. And we'll see if they get any more votes next week in the AP poll. For the first time ever, they received a vote, one from the man from Connecticut. So we'll see how that goes this week. Also this week, Friday starts tennis season. Yeah, it's 19 degrees or whatever, but it starts tennis season. With that in mind, Gabby Moore, second-year coach for McNeese State, is joining us. You play a doubleheader match. Okay, I've never heard of a doubleheader tennis match. What do? Do you play them twice?
We win twice.
So, okay. Ask a question. But do you mix it up, or how do you do that?
So, yes, we play twice. So in the beginning, we usually play out all our matches. So we want all the girls to get matches fully in. We mix up some things up. And the first match, we might play some girls. We try and get our full roster, on the court in 2 matches.
I just hadn't seen that on our before, a doubleheader in tennis, so I was just interested. But because could be a little chilly out there, you're going to give free donuts,
free donuts,
coffee,
free coffee,
hot chocolate.
Free hot chocolate.
So there you go.
There we go, right?
Who's providing that?
There's no excuse. We'll be warm. We'll be full. We'll have an energy rush. We are.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a little bit. Last year, you went 15-6 in your first year. What did you learn from your first year, and how do you take it differently into the second year?
I learned a lot of patience, especially with this group. No, the first year, honestly, that's my first year of transitioning into a head coaching role at a new university. So for me, it was honestly learning how to transition with the girls. Obviously it was 5 of them that were already on the team that I inherited. So trying to get to know them the best way I could. I recruited 3 girls coming into that same year. So just learning how to transition, have them buying into, my values as a coach, what I thought and what I knew this team could do was the biggest goal of all for last year, and trying to get a winning record and show them that they could do it.
Well, you started 7-1 last year. You went to the second round of the Southland Conference tournament in Corpus Christi, losing to Incarnate Word 4-3. What's the next step for this program?
Well, obviously, I think for us, we want to win. We want to win a championship. I think we have to take it every day at a time. One day at a time, that's one thing that I always tell the girls, it's just 1% better every day. This season, we're traveling a lot, and I think last year they really saw, and now they believe what they could do, and they want it.
And what did you change, or will you change, and what did you get out of last year that you can bring into this year?
I didn't change anything. I think what we are doing is building off of last year. So we have our foundation, and that was something as a head coach, first-year head coach, that I was trying to do is build a foundation. Now we're building, we don't change that foundation, we're building off of that foundation and, bringing the new girls that we have into our culture, having them buy into what we do, and we grow and continue to build off of that.
Tell us a little bit about kind of your journey to McNeese. How'd you get here? How'd they kind of find you? How'd you reach out and end up getting this job?
Well, I was at Jackson State for 6 years, and I saw this opening. I went to school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at Southern. So Louisiana has always been home to me. I have some roots down here, so I wanted to get back. This job was opened. I actually reached out, and they reached back out to me, and the rest is history. So he was a good guy. He sold me.
We don't talk good things about Heath Schwer. You're not allowed to do that here.
No, but honestly, the values of this athletic department really fit to what I believe in as a coach. Lake Charles, the family, the community, it sold me right away, and that's what I really am in community. I really am. For the support, and I feel like McNeese was that place that had everything that I wanted.
Getting talent to come to college in tennis is kind of interesting because so many of the kids, especially upper level kids, kind of go into professionally at a young age. How hard is it to find that and to bring kids to different levels of it because of that?
I think it is hard. I think as the ITA, which is the it's the Collegiate Association, it's done a much better job at finding a pathway for athletes to get an education and to go pro. You know, there's tons of athletes now that are going pro after finishing 4 years in college, which benefits our sport a ton. Myself, you know, like we have the resources, you know, why not go to school? One, I always tell, you know, student athletes, get your education. You always need a plan B, you know, if plan A doesn't work out, you need a plan B. But number two is we have the resources, you know, we have the nutrition, we have the, you know, the facilities, we have the support, you have coaches, you have, you know, trainers, we have it all. Why not get that here, then grow, and then go pro?
I always look at rosters and kind of get intrigued by where people come from in that. And you're changing cultures when you move to the South anyway. But how is it a different culture, and how do you convince kids about the culture coming from Europe to Lake Charles?
Well, it's hard. I think, honestly, you always want to try and find the right fit for your program, right? And I believe most of these kids really, the culture of the South, it's not important. I think they're important is their coaches and, you know, who they trust and who they want to play for and who's going to benefit them the most. And that's what I love about our sport the most, especially recruiting Europeans or any internationals, is that they're hungry. They want to work hard. They want to get education, but they're really buying into the program.
And how hard do you explain to them where Lake Charles actually is?
Half of them, honestly, my whole team's here. Surprisingly, I didn't expect that, but I'm sure half of them didn't know where Lake Charles was from the beginning.
So when you're convincing it, because that's a long way from home, but tennis is kind of an interesting thing because it's an international sport, obviously. But you're bringing kids over at 18, 19 years old. You almost have to become the dual parent, don't you?
Absolutely. But then I think that plays a lot into my values as a coach. I don't just look at them as, you know, my student athletes, but I look at them as almost a mother figure. I have to be. I'm not a coach. I'm also a coach, but I'm also a mentor. You know, I'm the mom away from home. I always tell them I have 9 kids, including my own. But for sure, I think they are very independent because of that, but I am also that mother figure, I would say, to all of them.
Were you surprised at all with the success from last year early?
No.
Being a new coach?
No, it's the first practice, I tell you, I went on the court and I saw the talent. I knew they were talented. I think everything that we dealt with was off court. It had a lot to do with internally, the belief, the team building, the culture. They were talented. And they just needed to believe that they were talented. So I was not surprised at what we were able to achieve last year.
And coming together, now this year you kind of have the whole year with them. How much of a difference does that make that you had the off season with them, could build kind of around it, it wasn't kind of a quick rush to?
It makes a huge difference, especially in the fall. We're competing a lot as invitationals, but it's more individually oriented. So it definitely helps coming into a season for them to all be acquainted with each other, because last season I had 3 girls come in. One came in the fall, and 2 came in as the spring. Like right away, we're starting. So there's no time to really, they have to just, exactly, they get in and they have to figure it out. So it was more helpful just having them, you know, all here in the fall and being able to really work on what we needed to improve.
Tennis is an individual sport for the most part. How do you get them to buy into the team aspect of it?
It takes a lot of time, a lot of meetings, a lot of individual work, something that I talk about endlessly. It's almost like a broken record, but it's super important. And what's so unique about our sport, you know, it's not like we could call a timeout and say, hey, what's up, you know? Once they're out there, they're out there. There's no changing in the lineup. There's no, you know, pulling someone out and putting someone in. If you're hurt, we're done, you know? So the mindset has to be there from the moment we step on the court. So that's something that we really work on. A lot of the conversations, a lot of the meetings, a lot of the team bonding things where they have to be a unit together and know that, okay, even if we're going out there to play individual match, what I do on the court affects 7 other girls.
So on Friday at 11 a.m., you will open with Prairie View and a doubleheader. Free donuts, coffee, and hot chocolate. When we come back for the final segment, we'll have more with the coach, Gabby Moore, from women's tennis at McNeese after this.
The McNeese PokeCast is also brought to you by Twisted Vines. They offer residential and commercial lawn and landscaping maintenance, irrigation and drainage installation and repairs, outdoor landscaping, lighting, holiday and event light installation also with 3D drawings. Contact Ryan Boyd at 337-274-2267 or email info@twistedvineslc.com. Like them on Facebook and follow on Instagram at twistedvineslc. If you mention you heard the Twisted Vines on the podcast, you will receive a 10% discount off your purchase. And Pompelli Tire, official tire store of McNeese Athletics. Experts in tires, EV-specific tires as well. We do more than just tires, mechanical work as well. A full-time mechanic is on site at all times to help in your needs.
We're back for the final segment here on the PokeCast 92.9 FM, The Lake, across from campus at Mr. Bill's. And by the way, I just got this. Mr. Bill's will once again be having a watch party for men's basketball at 5 p.m. on Saturday. It's 5 p.m. The game is on ESPN Plus. You can also come here. The last time I saw it, especially for the Michigan game, the place was wild, by the way. I would have come over, but I got to actually work that time, so I have to do work. Otherwise, I would probably be here and not be able to work. Gabby Moore is our guest. I just found out you're from Chicago.
Yes, South Side.
From Whitney Young.
Went to Whitney Young, School of Champions.
Okay, I never heard that part of Whitney Young, but
School of Champions.
I grew up for the most part for half my young life on the west side. So
nice.
Yeah.
I lived on the north side growing up. We had a high-rise right across from Wrigleyville. So when I was a baby, my parents would go up to the top where they have bleachers and watch the games from the top of the apartments.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, then this is a personal. This is a personal question now. So you started your life on the north side.
Yep.
You went to the right side, the south side. That makes you a Sox fan?
No. Still a diehard Cubs fan. There's nothing like a Cubs game. I'm sorry.
I will agree with part of that. There is nothing like a Cubs game. I just happen to like Wrigley Field. I just happen to go in the jersey of the other team. That's all. So how's that? But you're a Bears fan at least.
I'm actually a Saints fan.
This is painful to watch.
Who dat?
Painful. Oh, this has gotten painful. Very painful. Let's go back to tennis because I can't. to be from Chicago and now a Saints fan is just, it's criminal.
Something
criminal
about Louisiana just grows on you.
Last year, you went 75-30 as a team in singles matches. I don't know if you knew that. I looked it up. In doubles matches, you went 24-28. How hard is it to find the right doubles teams in that? Especially when you have a good individual, how hard is it to come up with doubles teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely there has to be chemistry. We play around with it a lot. I know last year, honestly, we had some struggles in doubles, but it's all dealing with chemistry. So we do mix and match a little bit. We see what works. We might flip around, especially becoming in the beginning of the season. But we do take some time. We could have the best player, our number one player, and then our number 6 player, and our number 6 player might be one of our best doubles players, and our number 1 player just might not be the best doubles player. So it all depends on the chemistry, and we kind of match up what works best with each other, everyone's strengths and weaknesses to get the best pair.
Does it help, especially that now you've had them a year, they kind of have better chemistry coming into this year, you think?
Absolutely. I think this year we have improved in doubles. Let me not talk too soon because we haven't played our matches yet, but I think, especially from the fall going in, that we've seen a huge turnaround in our doubles.
Okay, talk about some of your players individually. Last year, Maria Wang Martinez went 17-3 as a freshman.
Yes.
How excited are you to have her back, and what does that mean as a freshman to be 17-3?
I mean, that's tough. I think she made history being like the fourth winningest player wins in a season in McNeese tennis history. She was incredible, and that's one of my girls that came in the spring. So as a freshman coming in, having to adapt right away, get on the court and do that is unbelievable. And super excited to have her back. And I think, she's just getting started. She's growing year by year, and she's getting even better by the minute, by the day.
So what is that? Obviously, she was so young. How much has she kind of not only grown in the sport, but also kind of just gotten accustomed to the area?
Absolutely. I think she's accustomed. She wants it. She's matured a lot on the court, and that's something that is really, as you know, when we get freshmen, it takes time for them to adapt. And she's one of those girls that she just gets it. She fits in, she molds herself, and I think that plays a lot into her success.
Who are some of the other ones?
We have another freshman, Nastia. Her name is Anastasia, but we call her Nastia. She came in. She's our only true freshman powerhouse, and we're super excited to see what she does on the court this year. But to be honest with you, all of them are standouts, and I think that's something that is very special to have. When we have a lineup, like you said, it's an individual sport, but usually people, you see your number one player, you see all the way, we have a roster of 8. But I truly believe this team is so strong that you could put them anywhere. And that makes, honestly, my job harder, because when we're doing a lineup, you want, your best. And they're all in the places where I know I could count on them, no matter if they're playing 1 or if they're playing 6.
How is the competition for the number 1 spot, though? What's that like?
It's competitive. Very competitive. But it's good competition. I think it's good competition to have, because, there's one question I asked at the beginning of the fall is, we had 8 girls, and it's like, who wants to play in the lineup? Only 6 play, but who wants to play? And everyone raises their hand. Everyone wants to be a part of the lineup. Everyone wants to compete. Playing for their number 1 spot, playing for number 6. Everyone wants a chance to play, and I think that's a good problem to have.
When you see the league in general, not a lot of talk had been about McNeese tennis in the past. Did you see a little bit of it kind of catch up last year, and do you think there's more attention on you guys now?
Absolutely. I think when you're winning, everyone wants a piece of that. I think going into this year, from a team that maybe wasn't at the top, that I think statistically is at the top right now, there's going to be people coming at us. When you're at the top, I always tell them it's harder. People want to win. People want to beat the people that are on top. So that's one thing that we just have to stay humble. We have to stay focused, and know that what happened last year happened last year. This is a new year. This is a new team, and we have to focus on what's ahead.
You're not going to surprise anybody this year, are you?
Like what?
Well, they know you're coming.
Oh.
They know how good you are.
Well, yeah. I mean, we know, but we like to keep people on their toes. So I think every time, last year was maybe a surprise to a lot of people, and they might be even more surprised this year.
What did you find from the community? What kind of response did you get last year, and how much can you build on that to kind of get interest in your program?
I think the community was fantastic. We had so much support. Now, we had a lot of home games last year. I think we had 8 or 9 home games this last year. We are on the road a lot this season. But the community has been fantastic. We've had so much support. From even at my first year, even with the team and the girls and the coaches before me, are like, these are a lot of people coming to our matches. And of course, as supporters, we're winning. We're going to get people out there. We want the continuous support. We need it, especially this season with only having 5 home matches, and 2 of them being really big conference matches going into March. It's going to be, very important for those girls, and the girls really, really, really vibe off of it.
What will people see when they come out Friday?
Energy. They're going to see the fire that these girls really, really want. They really, really want this. They want to win. They want to be better. But they're going to see the energy and the unity. There's one thing about this team. even more than last year, they have unity. They're all on the same page. They all buy into each other. They all want it for each other, and I think that's super important to have.
Whereas when you look at McNeese as far as now the conference, you've gotten a look at the conference. Who are some of the conference programs that kind of are up there and kind of you're kind of trying to emulate and kind of catch?
I think Texas A&M Corpus Christi has always been kind of the dominant team in the Southland. They're one of them. Northwestern State is going to be really good this year as well. They're another team to look out for. Honestly, all the teams are strong, and the Southland is getting stronger, especially in tennis. We have 2 teams on the East Coast that come in, the Bryant and JIT. So we never know what to expect, in the Southland when it comes to tennis. And it's something that we have to take into consideration going in is that, again, hey, whatever happened last year, great. But we never know, especially having the season we did, that we need to be on our toes and know that no matter what, we have to play hard.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you made because it's not – everybody thinks of the Southland as kind of the core that's in every sport and that. You guys do bring 2 teams in from the East that have completely different kind of looks. You don't get a lot of looks at them. What's that like to bring them in and to go there and kind of have them in your league?
It's tough because, honestly, we don't even play them in regular season, So we don't know when it comes to seeding if we're going to play them or not. So it's something that we always have to watch. We have to see how they're doing. We can't forget about them. That's the thing. We can't worry about the teams that we have when we play in conference because there's 2 teams that are still fighting to come and compete. And there's a chance that we could get them in the first round of the tournament, and it's something that's unfamiliar to us.
Yeah, so that is interesting because you mentioned that, and there's no way to scout them really, is there?
No.
How do you do that? How do you go about kind of expecting to see what you're not going to see?
I think the best way we could do is just by watching their matches, seeing who they're playing, seeing how their lineup looks, and seeing how they match up. Sometimes they do come and play some other schools in our conference, and I think that is our biggest tool of seeing where they stand with some teams that we're going to play, throughout the conference season.
It's an interesting recruiting tool. You're not going to play them.
I know.
Does that, with everything else that goes on, what is it like to travel? Because what's tennis like traveling? Because you don't get the big buses and all that. What's it like? Because you're really a close-knit core.
We are.
What is travel like with them?
It's great. To be honest, I like to drive. We take the vans, but I like to have control. So I don't have to. If I want to stop and go to a nice restaurant, I don't want to have to work on an itinerary. I just want to kind of be able to just stop and go. So van rides are fun. I'm very, we talk a lot, if they're not sleeping, we're having conversation, but it's a good time. And it's actually important because I like to see the vibe of how they're feeling and interacting with them up close and personal.
So it's a good thing that you're in close with them.
Yes.
All right. Gabby Moore has been our guest on the final segment here at the McNeese PokeCast. We got a couple of minutes. I want to update a couple of things. Don't forget they open this Friday at home at 11 a.m. against Prairie View in a doubleheader. Free donuts, coffee, and hot chocolate will be there, so any weather is okay. Don't be afraid of the weather. McNeese State basketball gotten a vote for the first time in the history of the AP poll. Will be back in action Saturday against Incarnate Word at 5 p.m. You can watch on ESPN Plus, or you can come to Mr. Bill's right here and get a watch party to watch the game. Also, Monday night, big game against Corpus Christi, 7 p.m. on ESPNU. Want to thank you for joining us on the PokeCast. We'll see you next week. And as always, go Pokes.